And welcome in everybody to the Summit City Sports Report number 26 with head football coach Kurt Tippmann for the Snider Panthers. And coach, your team coming off a very, very impressive 49-14 win this past Friday at Northrop, your home stadium, taking on the Bruins. And in the last 2 weeks, outscoring your opponents 84-14. Very impressive when you consider those are two 6A opponents on your schedule.
Yeah, I think the main goal at this point in time is to just keep getting better every week. And I think we're seeing that. And that's the goal as we get ready for the playoffs. You know, week 10 is to be playing our best football. And we're seeing improvement in all aspects as kind of what our mantra is, keep getting better each week and individually. And then with the offensive, defensive, and special team scheme, you know, I think we're seeing that kind of evolvement.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just saw the first touchdown there by the freshman running back, Braylon Burton. You know, Coach, when I look at what you've been able to do with the two running backs, it seems like Jordan Davis is even getting better as Braylon's getting more touches, kind of like the two are feeding off each other.
Well, I think that's true of any guys competing at the same position. Competition breeds, you know, improvement. You know, I think they both practice better. And they certainly, first of all, they're great friends. Their dads played together. I mean, those are two legendary names in the program with Courtney Davis and Willie Burton playing on that 92 team. But they're great friends. They've grown up together, and they make each other better. They complement each other well, but they push each other. They're also cheerleaders for each other. You know, they encourage each other, and they're happy, legitimately happy for one another when each has success. So right now it's a good combination and one that, you know, I think we need offensively. And since, you know, the season has begun, I think our running game has improved because these two guys have certainly improved.
Absolutely. And, you know, Coach, when I look at the freshman Burton, you can tell that he's got a nice sized body, you know, for the running back position, but you can see where, you know, a couple years in that Snider weight training program is going to be very beneficial for him. But Coach, when he gets running downhill, it looks like he initiates contact on defenders. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, he gets downhill. That's one of the strengths that he has. And he is just a pup. I mean, he looks like a freshman in terms of his physical development. But his play on the field, sometimes you can't tell that he's that young of a kid. And he has good vision. He just has some natural instincts as a tailback. But he certainly gets, you know, runs behind his pad is kind of a cliche way to say it, but, you know, falls forward when he gets hit, and he's a load. You know, he's a heavy runner. It's hard to bring down and falls forward a lot of times.
Yeah, Coach, and we just saw Jordan Davis there with those little cuts in the backfield. Do you feel like they're kind of contrasting styles where Davis with those quick feet and the cuts offers a little bit of a different look for the defense?
Well, I don't know that if they're contrasting, but they each have their unique skills that they add to the running back position. I think, you know, they each have strengths, and you know, they each add a different element as they run the ball. I mean, there's some things that we need them to do consistently that's how they've improved in terms of reading the scheme, going to where the ball needs to go, following certain blocks, reading certain blocks. And then their speed, I think, has increased. Jordan's footwork is really something he works on continuously. He and Coach Davis, his position coach, you know, he works with those guys nonstop any chance he gets on their footwork in the hole, their footwork in avoiding a tackle. And so I think the cool thing to realize and to see is how those drills that they do in practice translate to the same kind of situation in a game, and to see him have success in that way is, you know, is comforting and reassuring that the work pays off.
Coach, do you have to remind the guys to take those drills seriously? I mean, do the players police themselves, or do the coaches find that they're constantly having to stay on guys when it comes to the little drills, things that they do, time and time again?
Well, I mean, if you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, they don't do everything on their own. But our kids, we believe work hard and care about their improvement. And they got to believe in the process. They got to believe that what they're doing in practice is actually going to help them out. And I think, you can certainly do some drills, and kids are smart. They know that may not be realistic to what happens in a game. It's just something that some coach found on the internet or something like that. And so I think as our challenge as coaches is to make sure that the things that we ask them to do have credibility to their improvement. When a coach constructs something that the player improves, and then the player gets in a game and realizes that drill that they did in practice actually just translated to me doing something successful on the field, and then there's belief. And I think our job and our challenge as coaches is to continually provide things that prove worthy of their effort and that translate to improvement on the field. And that's when I think we get the best buy-in. But that's a two-way street. It's not just asking the kid to buy in. We as coaches need to do a good job of making sure that we're constructing something that it has validity in terms of translating to their performance on the field.
And Coach, you have very limited time to prepare for a game on Friday. I mean, high school football, it's next game's right up there. Do you ever find yourself wanting to get rid of those periods where they're doing indie drills or something so that you can spend more time installing an offense or a defense?
Absolutely not. I think, one of the goals, one of our beliefs is that you have to have an element of every practice that's devoted to continual improvement of essential skills. In other words, if you're going to make a playoff run and you're going to go up against the best competition, we don't believe that we can rely solely on athleticism and speed and things that are, physical. There needs to be a lot of technique and fundamental execution of things. And that only happens if you devote practice time to those continuous skills. I think it's an easy trap to fall into is try to devote so much time to the scheme aspect of a game plan and not always the execution aspect of playing linebacker or offensive line or quarterback or running back. So, I think, we in the program do a good job of making sure we're sticking with that amount of time that allows us to continually improve. And I think the proof is that we're seeing improvement in week 7 and hopefully week 8, and so that we're playing our best football week 10.
Yeah, and that's a testament to the last 2 weeks and what you guys have been able to accomplish on the field. This is a fun play right here, Coach. I know I played it a few times. I'm going to do it one more, but it's a little screen pass to Jordan Davis. And what I love about this play is how Crosby Daniels, the big junior offensive lineman at 6'3", 285, gets out in space, and he knows right here he can't block him in the back. He doesn't want to get a clipping called, but honestly, his positioning right there was just enough to get Jordan, an extra 25 yards.
Yeah, Crosby did a good job on that play, and really Aaron Vance does a really good job of finding the window. Initially, the window is not there to get the ball to JD, and he has to maneuver and finds that good window to get the ball to Jordan. And then, the offensive line's downfield does a good job, and Jordan does a lot on his own there too. And big first down in that scenario.
And a big game for your senior quarterback, Aaron Vance, completing 20 of 25 passes for 311 yards, had 4 touchdowns, and he also had a rushing touchdown. Is it safe to say that was the best game of his career so far?
Statistically, certainly. And Northrop, kind of loaded the box and put 9 guys up there, and we're going to devote a bunch of attention to the run game. And so, again, offensively, I think our goal is to always take advantage of what the defense is giving you, and not be stubborn and try to run into something that's not there, to take what they're giving you. And Aaron did a great job of taking what was there and getting the ball to the receivers and reading the defense. And that's his job. His job is to orchestrate the offense and get the ball to what the play design is called for, and to take advantage of what the defense is giving you. And that's what he did a good job of. And then he made some plays on his own too. Sometimes, quarterbacks have to ad lib a little bit and do some things to make the play execute. And, he did a combination of both of those things. And, statistically, it's been a while since we had a quarterback throw for 300. But he answered the challenge and did a great job along with the receiving core and running back core.
7 different receivers caught a pass for you this past Friday. That's got to put a big smile on your face, especially when you have so many guys grinding it out, week in, week out during practice, to be able to get them on the field and get them a reception. That had to feel really, really good.
Well, I think, everybody wants to touch the ball, so that's good that we're distributing it. But, we rotate a lot of guys in there, and that's a credit to the depth of the position and, the quality of players, really sophomore through senior, that we can get that many guys rotated through and still be effective in what we're doing offensively.
And one of the plays that really kind of took off on social media was this one right here to Owen Dotson. I know Ethan Dotson was watching. Ethan's at Air Force right now, correct?
Yes.
At Air Force Academy, scholarship football player. But he really enjoyed this play right here. That was fun.
Well, it's good to see a young guy get a first touchdown. And, you can see, I think I'm most happy about the number of kids that are happy for him, right? And it's not just him being happy, but his teammates wanting to celebrate with him because they're happy that he had success. And that's a cool thing to see.
Yeah, and what a catch right there. He just sticks out his right hand and tips it back to himself. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, he's got mitts. He's a baseball guy. And that Dotson family, they got long arms and big kids. So, he did a great job catching the ball.
One other guy, and I know we've talked about him a lot this year, that I wanted to bring up, but Landon Fry, I feel like he's been a huge difference maker for you on the offensive side of the ball the last couple of weeks. I really noticed it in the Homestead game, and you can see Landon right there on the wing, but when he hits that edge, or really when he gets to a defender and he gets his hands on him, I mean, it's pretty safe to say that defender is going to be blocked.
Yeah, I mean, he brings another element to our offense. I mean, Landon Fry is a competitor. I mean, he's just a football player. You ask him to do anything, he'll do it. He could play, pretty confident he could play any position on our team. He could play offensive line. He could run receiver. He could play quarterback. I mean, he's a very talented baseball player, got a cannon for an arm, and he could play running back as he is. He could carry the ball. Defensively, he could play on the D line. He can cover guys as receivers. So, very versatile guy. Plays on our special teams, our long snapper. Selfless player. Does anything you ask him to do. Just a quality football player and a great young man.
Coach, the latest 247 sports rankings came out a little bit ago. There's 76 players here in the class of 2025 listed. Brandon Logan has moved up from the number 14 spot all the way to the number 10 spot. So you love to see that. And I really believe that he is deserving of moving up in the rankings. But going back to Fry, do you think that he's somebody that could be on the top 76 in the state? Because I've seen a lot of different football players this year, and I am just really, really impressed with not only his body type, his frame, but all that he's able to accomplish on the field.
No, I'm not sure of what the criteria for the 247 sports rankings are, but I know this: he's a great high school football player. I think he'd be a great college football player as well. There's an element to guys that certainly they have to have the skill, the size to be a college level football player, but there's also got to be a mentality. and he has the mentality of an elite football player, and that's not something that you teach. He has it. He has it when he showed up here. He just shows the same mentality as a competitor in baseball. He was the same way when he was started on a sectional basketball team as a freshman. Scored in the sectional championship game as a freshman. Um, so very talented guy, but just an ultimate competitor. And I don't care what the sport is, you roll the ball out there, he's going to be good at it. And that's certainly due to his skills, but also a very unique mentality as it relates to competition.
Coach, talk about the health of your offensive line from week 1 to where we are right now, getting ready for week number 8. Isaiah Caldwell, Sawyer Tippmann, Crosby Daniels, as we mentioned earlier, Ethan Leal, and Omari Ford. Have those been the 5 starters for you week in, week out throughout the regular season?
For the most part, Leland Jen has been in there also. But we've gone through some injuries. I think as everybody does, we haven't had our lineup intact for a couple weeks, really on both sides of the ball on the line, and I think we're now just starting to get healthy. But yeah, for the most part, we've rotated 6 or 7 guys, and it's been the consistency of those 6 or 7 that we've gone with each week.
You talked about Leland Jen. Is there 1 or 2 more offensive linemen that you would be able to name that we could possibly see in the next couple of weeks?
Well, Colton Igney played a lot in the game last Friday night. And then our tight ends, Anthony Barnes and Owen Dotson, who you mentioned earlier, kind of round out that group of offensive linemen.
Yeah, and Anthony Barnes had a big reception for 36 yards in that game against Northrop, so that's outstanding right there. Well, Coach, one of the best rivalries in the state, I like to say, and I do believe a lot of people believe that to be true as well. Snider has won 4 straight games in this rivalry. What are your guys' thoughts heading into this one? Obviously, Bishop Dwenger going or hosting Bishop Lures and posting an 8-0 victory. Their defense has been solid all year long. So, I know that the season started off not the best for them, but since it seems like this is a team that's getting more and more dangerous as we approach the postseason.
Well, I mean, you say the season didn't start off well for them. They might have played the best team in the state week 1. And so that's hard to measure because there might not be a better team in the state than Brownsburg. And then, Cincinnati Moeller is nationally one of the best programs in the country and has a long history of and tradition of having great football teams and putting out great football players. So, they certainly were challenged in those 2 games, but man, great competition, and you play great competition that only makes you better.
Yep.
And I certainly think that's been the case with BD, and I think as they a lot like us continue to improve, a lot of that has to do with playing really good competition in those pre-conference games, and that I think adds to your perspective as coaches, even your perspective as players, as what you need to work on. When you get those things identified to you that early, it speeds up the learning process, especially for young guys. And they're playing a lot of young guys, not 2 or 3 year players. There's guys that are out there for the first time, and when they can learn at a faster pace, I think, that translates to better play on the field in a quicker manner. And I think that's what you're seeing with them as well.
Coach, a little off topic here, but Warren Central picked up their first loss of the season, 33-7, hosting Lawrence North. Do you guys pay attention to that stuff at all? You had a big battle with them. As you can see, you held them to 15 points, and that was their lowest output all season long until that loss to Lawrence North. We don't know about injuries or anything like that, but do you guys pay attention to that stuff at all?
Well, I do. I'm part of the Coaches Association that gets to vote each week on the coaches poll. So part of my Saturday routine is reviewing the scores and talking to colleagues throughout the state and, casting a vote on who, we believe are the best 10 to, I think we vote for 10 teams each week. So it is something that we follow. I also just like following, coaches that we're friends with or, have a lot of respect for. And certainly Coach Kirshner at Warren Central is one of those guys. And, when we played them, I just had a hard time believing that we would face a better defensive line than what they had. And, they got a kid going to LSU, another kid going to Louisville, a kid in the junior class that just got offered by Ohio State, Michigan, and then another one that I think is a MAC player. So, according to your rankings, like you're talking about, the 247 or whatever that is, they're as highly ranked as any group of defensive linemen in the state. And so I think that's proven too. You look at a lot of those goose eggs on that defensive side, not a lot of people scoring points, the overtime game with Ben Davis, and that's a battle. But they haven't given up a lot of points. So obviously Lawrence North must be really, really good to be able to put up some points like that. I know they had a defensive score. So, that's part of it. But, I still think Warren Central will be up there in the 6A, tournament and one of the favorite teams to make a long run in the playoffs.
Coach, going back to this game on Friday, who are some of the guys that you have identified on offense for your defense from the Saints?
Well, my favorite player is Brady O'Keefe. I love watching him play. He's always giving great effort. He's fast. He plays him everywhere in the secondary. They play him on offense, receiver, line him up at running back, do all kinds of different things with him. They get him the ball, and he defends, teams' best players. He's just active. He's always around the ball. He's, great kick returner, punt returner. He just seems to, every time Dwenger's doing something successful, you see number 3, in there. So really enjoy watching him play, have a ton of respect for the way he plays. And he's certainly a guy that we have to be very aware of. I think he's one of their senior leaders that makes their team go. And, he's one of the guys that we're certainly paying attention to for sure.
Coach, when you look at the SAC, obviously you play these teams year in, year out, maybe not every year now with the split of the divisions, but do you consider Bishop Dwenger to be one of the more physical teams that you'll play within the conference year in, year out? I know I would think that most people would say Snider is one of the more physical teams, but do you see that in the Bishop Dwenger Saints?
Certainly. I mean, that's always been the case with Bishop Dwenger. They play extremely hard. Watching the film this week, that's one of the things that pops off the page. They just play extremely hard and physical, and that's always a sign of a tough team to beat. And so that's been true with the Bishop Dwenger program for as long as I've been around. So certainly the case this year.
Does that sound like it's one of those things where iron sharpens iron once again? I mean, you guys have been, this rivalry has gone back all the way to the 70s. It honestly helped mold the success of Fort Wayne football. I would say it's probably starting in the 70s. But do you feel that to be true, that you guys kind of mirror each other, therefore you have to rise to the level of each other's intensity?
Well, absolutely. I think, especially with the physical nature of the game, football has evolved in a lot of places to, more play in space, more one-on-one matchups. And I don't think that has become the case in the Snider Dwenger game. It is a knockdown drag out. It is certainly a battle in the trenches on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive line. And, as long as I've been a part of this game, and that's been since the early and mid 80s, that seems to be how this game goes. The team that has success, certainly there's individual plays made that determine success, but you got to win the battle up front. You got to win the battle of the trenches, and that goes long into determining the outcome. And I see no different in the game this year. just seems to be the determining factor in the Snider Dwenger matchups each year.
Coach, what do you think about this 2 weeks ago? Their game against Northrop, they come out in those different uniforms there. I've never seen that from a Dwenger team. Obviously, they used to wear the camouflage uniforms every once in a while, but they got blue pants here with those gold tops, kind of a different look for them.
Yeah, it was a little different look, and good for them, to spice things up a little bit, and good for them.
Well, Coach, once again, this rivalry game, you guys have won 4 straight. Shoot, you're coming off a rivalry game against Northrop, where now you've won 28 straight against them. So that's got to feel great. But Snider predicted here, John Harrell 28-17 victors this Friday. So we'll see how it goes down. If that were to happen, Coach, what do you feel like offensively will be the key for you guys this Friday?
Well, I think everything starts up front. We certainly have to do a good job of blocking their guys. They're very good on the D line, very active. They play extremely hard. Their 3 linebackers run to the ball extremely well. They attack. They're downhill, very aggressive, and then they're well coached and positioned very well in the secondary. They always, have eyes on the ball and hard to get them out of position. But I think, it'll have to start with us up front, and Aaron has to do a good job of distributing the ball, getting to the ball, reading things correctly, distributing the ball in the passing game where the play calls for it, where the read calls for it. Protecting the ball is always a big part of our game plan each week, but I think those are the big things that'll determine our success offensively.
Coach, do you kind of see it as a blessing then, that Northrop game, that the Bruins wanted to load the box, maybe a single safety, and that allowed Vance to get 25 throws in and have a lot of success? I mean, honestly, I kind of thought like you planned it that way. But, yeah, you got to take what the defense has given you. And that seems like that's going to be some really valuable experience for him, especially connecting with so many different receivers.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of our goal as an offense, in terms of improvement. I think offensively our goal is always going to be, we want to be balanced. We want to run the ball and we want to throw the ball. The more balanced you are, the more it keeps defenses off balance. But there are going to be times in the playoffs where you got to run the ball. The defense knows you're going to run the ball, and you got to be successful. And likewise, there's going to be times where you got to throw the ball. The defense knows you're going to throw the ball, and you have to execute and get a first down. So, as we look at our goals for improvement and what we want to be able to do come playoff time, I think, his ability to throw the ball like he did last week is a big step in that direction. And that's the kind of improvement we're looking for across the board offensively to be ready week 10.
And then defensively, Coach, I'm going to go back to the Homestead game just because I called that game. I got to see it from the start to the very end. But I was very, very impressed with the junior number 21, Azeel Jordan, 6 foot, 200 pounds. I feel like maybe from week 1, he's made the most improvement on that defense other than any other player. What have you been seeing from Azeel Jordan?
Well, I mean, first of all, he's a very long kid. He's probably 6'3". I don't know if that's right on the roster, but he's 6'3", 210 pounds. Just a very long kid. And, you're right. He gets better every week. And, experience is a great teaching tool. And Azeel, to his credit, learns something every week and applies that to his game so that he gets better. And the guys coaching him, Coach Mormon, Coach Ritchie, do a great job, putting him in those positions to see the improvement. But he's hard to block because he's got such long arms and long reach. And then he's very athletic. So as the ball gets to the perimeter, he's got the ability to run it down. He's got those long strides and picks him up and puts him down pretty quick. And, it's a big asset to a defensive end.
And coach, is he a hybrid? Can he play a little bit of outside backer too, or cover a running back in the flats, or is he strictly pin his ear back and get after the quarterback?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that can drop into coverage, and we do that with him. Um, he's athletic enough to play in space, but then also physical enough to hold the edge and to get a pass rush when we need him to. So his versatility adds to our scheme defensively, along with the other guy at the other side, Braylon Fertil. He's another guy that is athletic but yet big. Not as tall as AZ, but very athletic. Really good basketball player in our program here at Snider, and um, has the athleticism to both drop and cover guys in space, but also come off the edge or take on kick out blocks from guards and fullbacks and people like that. So great combination for those two edge guys.
Coach, this will be my last question, but since you have been the head coach of Snider, I believe it's 16 years, is there one single play in this rivalry throughout the years that really sticks out in your head? I know that's got to be a tough one, just so many games in those 16 years, but is there one individual play that you can still remember like it was yesterday?
Oh, there's a lot of them. Um, you know, there's a lot of great games, a lot of games that come down to last plays, field goals, missed field goals. There was a period of 3 years where I think all three games went into overtime, and one team went for two in overtime to win, and another, the next year it was the other team that went for two in overtime to win. Multiple overtime games. So I mean, this unique matchup has really had all kinds of scenarios. Honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind was, some of those tough losses. Um, those stick in your mind probably more so than some of the big wins. Um, and so, it's a game that we look forward to every year. I'm sure they do as well. It's an exciting week. I mean, the kids are amped up. As soon as we got done talking about Friday night's game on Friday night, I mean, conversation shifted right to playing Dwenger, and it's a game that I think the players look forward to playing in. It'll be a huge crowd. It's going to be a great weather night. So both programs have great followings, and the crowd will be electric, and um, I think it's something that everybody looks forward to doing, and so it should be fun Friday night.
And here you have it, Coach. 2010, a heartbreaking two overtime loss, 46-45. Then the following year, an unbelievable win, 42-41 in overtime. And those were some really, really good Dwenger teams. When you talk about Springman and Goodman and Eifert and all of those guys, so unbelievable rivalry. And you guys are just keep on going here in 2024. Coach, we wish you all the best. Friday night, 7 p.m. at Spuller Stadium.
Thanks, Jeff. We're looking forward to it, and thanks for all that you do and the coverage. Enjoyed being on with you tonight, and good luck to you guys as well.
Thank you, Coach. So that's head coach Kurt Tippmann. He and the guys getting ready for this unbelievable matchup, this game against Bishop Dwenger. I played in this rivalry. It's probably the only game I ever cried after, just because I knew I would never get a shot to beat Snider, and I never beat him throughout my high school career. Larry Davis was a senior on that Snider team. He was an all-state safety his junior year. They moved him to quarterback, and he was just as good at quarterback his senior year. A lot of my good buddies played for Snider because I grew up in the Georgetown area. We played Little League ball together. So the proximity, because St. Charles is so close to Snider, literally you can walk there in 5 minutes between the two schools. But yet St. Charles is probably the first to second. I mean, I know St. Vincent's is a larger parish, but St. Charles sends a lot of kids to Bishop Dwenger to play football, and they send some kids over to Snider to play as well. So there's going to be a lot of emotion on that field, and you guys have to get out to Spuller Stadium this Friday for this matchup. As you can see, Snider with a 5-2 overall record, 4-1 in conference play, that lone loss coming against the Carroll Chargers. And Bishop Dwenger now 3-4 overall, 3-2 in conference, but they're winners of 2 straight, including a big 8-0 win hosting Lures. Folks, so sorry Tim could not join us. Tim Atkinson could not join us tonight. He was helping his daughter with car troubles. So we understand dad's got to do what dad's got to do. So, but we thank you for joining us, and we really urge you to get out to Spuller Stadium and enjoy what will truly be a great, great game. Thanks for joining us.